Welcome to the Great African Leadership Series, where we feature great inspirational speeches and quotes from African leaders.
Thank you very much. Let me say how glad I am to be present with you this evening. We can remember many things, but today I think that wisdom not only requires, but demands that we must ask ourselves what Nelson Mandela would have said on the 100th day of his birth, 100th year of his birth. What if he were alive today? What would he have said? And I suspect he would have said many things. I think Nelson Mandela would have remembered the year 1965. He would have said that in that year, when I wrote No Easy Walk to Freedom, I was thinking about one of the most pernicious regimes that the world has ever known. A regime that institutionalized racism. A regime that proceeded on the assumption and on the practice that men should be judged by the color of their skin and not by the content of their character. I think he would have remembered that through sustained effort, that regime was brought down. I think Mandela would have reminded us that in 1960 there was a massacre in Sharpeville. He would have reminded us. He would have reminded us that in 1976 there was another massacre in Soweto. He would have reminded us. But he would not have stopped there. He would have reminded us that it was through the corporate agency of men and women who are prepared to lose their lives that the apartheid regime was destroyed. But he would not have stopped there. He would have told us that history is only valuable to the extent that it reminds us and warns us at once that we must never repeat the mistakes that we make. But he would have gone silent and said that the tragedy of humanity is that we learn nothing from history. He would have reminded us, as he looked at this continent, he would have reminded us that as he fought in the 1950s and 1960s, the entire continent of Africa was under the colonial yoke. He would have reminded us that we Africans have suffered more than any other race. He would have reminded us that there was a time when globalization meant the slavery of Africa. He would have reminded us that there was a time when slavery lost its value and luster, that there are men and women who came from Europe and took away our freedom and took away our land. He would have reminded us. He would not have stopped there. He would have reminded us that through our own effort, in the 1950s and 1960s, we liberated ourselves, and that the 32 heads of states and government who were then alive sat down in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, in the month of May 1963. And each one of them spoke eloquently and passionately, reminding us that the acquisition of flag independence was just but the beginning. He would have reminded us of the speeches of many great men who sat on that day. He would have told us that the host on that day, Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, reminded the hosts that Africa can only regain our esteem if our people are free and if she exploits our resources. He would have not stopped there. He would have gone ahead and reminded us that even before we met in Addis Ababa in 1963, the neo-colonial project was alive and well, and that the neo-colonialists had already killed Patrice Emery Lumumba in 1961. He would have reminded us. He would not have stopped there. He would have gone ahead and gone through the speeches of all the leaders that were present on that day, on the 24th day of May 1963, and would have reminded us of the speech of Mwalimu Kambarage Nyerere, and would have told us, Mwalimu told us we came here to Addis Ababa not to unite, but to underscore the fact that without unity, we will be recolonized again. But he would have concluded with the speech of that great man, Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah. And he would have told us that Nkrumah warned us that if we don't unite, we will be colonized again. And he would have said that as I look at Africa today, I ask myself the question, has Africa liberated herself from our own self-declared enemies? The enemy of poverty, is it dead and buried? Have we written the obituary of poverty, you would have asked? Have we written the obituary of ignorance, you would have asked? Have we rewritten the obituary of disease and sorrow and want? Are we at the dinner table of civilization as equal partners, or we still reside in the menu to be consumed by other civilization? Madiba would have asked. He would have told the leaders in Africa that true success is when your successor succeeds, and that there is wisdom just as we can borrow from the ocean. Just as wave pushes wave to renew the ocean, so new blood and young blood must push old blood in order to renew society. And Madiba would not have stopped there. He would have asked, how is it that a continent that is so endowed, because Africa is endowed. If you go to the west of Africa, you would have said, don't we have cocoa in Ghana? He would remind us, did we not call Ghana Gold Coast before we renamed it because of the gold that resides there? He would have asked, but who makes the cocoa? How is it that the cocoa that is produced in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire is then converted into chocolate in Switzerland and in Belgium? He would have posed the question, how is it that the tea that is produced in Kenya is taken to the United Kingdom and upon a little addition is then christened British tea? You would have asked. He would not have asked it, stop there. He would have asked, how is it that gold and diamond that is produced in Africa is traded in the London Stock Exchange? You would have asked. Madiba would have asked, why is it that Africa produces what it does not consume and consumes what it does not produce? Madiba would also have wondered whether slavery is alive and well or it is dead. Because Madiba would have looked at the goings on in Libya, and he would look at black men and black women being sold like chattels he would have seen dinghies drowning in the Mediterranean Sea, capsizing and drowning people in the Mediterranean Sea. He would have seen young men and young women being rejected at different ports in Spain and Italy and Malta, and he would have asked, are we children of a lesser God? He would have asked. He would have posed many questions. How is it that a continent that has 1 billion people is still at the bottom in all indices of human development? He would have posed. But Madiba would not have drowned himself in sorrows and lamentations. He would have prescribed solutions. He would have said, Africa must unite. But he would have exhorted us that our unity must not be at the level of sloganeering and mere rhetoric. He would have said that if Africa wants to be recognized amongst the community of nations as a continent that is worthy, as indeed it is worthy, those who are in political leaders must be men and women who recognize that political leadership is indeed a trusteeship on behalf of the people. He would have said, you Africa, remember that you are a continent that is not standing alone. You are part of the international community. He would have reminded Africa about a few things. He would have said, in the 13th century, I saw the Portuguese came here, and I saw they claimed that they discovered the Cape of Good Hope, and Africa has never been the same again. I saw the Spaniards come. I saw the English come. I saw the Dutch. I saw the Germans. I saw the French. And after they were finished with us, we had lost our lands. He would have told us, I now see the Chinese coming. I see them coming. I'm not telling you not to trade with them. Trade with them, but be careful, because all of them always started with trade and ended up conquering us. He would have told us that we have not been beaten once, we have not been beaten twice, we have not been beaten thrice, we have not been beaten 4 times, we have not been beaten 5 times, we have been beaten times without number, and time has come that we must now be careful so that we are capable of doing that which is good and right. So, my fellow Africans, Madiba would have reminded us that power still resides in us. And he would have reminded us that this country is the country that reminded the people that power resides in them. And Madiba would have said, Amandla, Ngawetu, Maibuye, Maibuye, Viva Mandela, Viva South Africa, Viva Africa, Viva humanity, Amandla, God bless you.
And and share this video with friends and family to support the channel.